back. And the thing is, like, I'm a faith person, and it's difficult in the moment to look forward, right? Like, I can tell you, like, this is hard. It is hard. Everything in this story was really, really, like, treacherous. But faith says, fear says, what if? Faith says, even if.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, even if it was that, like, looking back, you're like, yo, I'm
Yes.
Jeez. But yeah, no, very, very similar. Like, yeah, no,
everything. So
no,
transmitting with your lecturer.
Hey, beautiful people, and welcome to She Is the Podcast, a podcast all about women, their careers, and their cash. I'm the presenter, Kapano.
And I'm Nyaki, the producer.
On this show, you can expect to hear real conversations with real women about how they navigated their finances as they climbed the way to the top of their businesses or in corporate life.
Listen every week wherever you get your podcast, or download a fresh episode on www.clubsheis.com.
I have to start with this picture.
Ha 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 ha. Ha, ha, ha. You see the picture? Do you see it? Yes.
Tell me about this picture.
That picture was, so the post and the picture are obviously different because the picture is dated a year before the post. But this picture was the epitome of, is it epitome the top? What? The pinnacle.
The pinnacle.
The pinnacle of an idea that I had the day after I got married.
And how did it get to here? I mean, the time difference.
10 years. Well, that would have been like 8 years. Yeah. So let me tell you how the story started.
Yeah.
I've got like hair that is like, I got really thick hair.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting married. And I went to go for a relaxer, as normal people do,
So your hair's relaxed at the time. You're going for a touch-up, basically.
I'm going for a retouch, for a relaxer, as normal relaxer vibes. And so John, my hairstylist, was like, your hair didn't relax, you have to relax it again. So I relaxed it twice in one sitting, which you're not supposed to do.
Girl.
Anyway, so I ended up with scalp burn all across my forehead. This is pre-wedding hair. And
how
even
many days is the wedding?
Maybe like 7 days, because I got married in Joburg. I got married in Joburg, but I lived in Cape Town, so this happened in Cape Town. So I left, and then I had to go, and so like I even did my pre, when they go and put your makeup on the trial, like a few days before, and I was still like peeling off.
I'm so nervous.
Scalp on my face. You know that? Remember? I don't know if you remember the peel that happens.
So you get the pimples, and then it starts peeling.
No, it scabs.
Oh my gosh.
No, the scab. I was scabbing during the trial. So fortunately, I actually think it was fine. Like by the time it got there, but like after that, I was like, there has to be. This cannot.
I've got heart palpitations from just thinking that. Oh my God, 7 days before your wedding. Watch Ochele, basically you burnt.
Relaxer burn. Yeah, and it was just like, nah, this can't be it. And then I started Googling, as everybody does, like, what can I do outside of relaxing my hair? And there was this thing that was happening in the States where people were just like ditching relaxer. This was like way like before the influencers, before
the world went. Oh my gosh,
years. And so I cut my hair off, and I realized at 23 years old, I had never known what the texture of my hair was like. And
how it naturally just came out of your scalp.
Out of my scalp. And everything was new. What is this? This is so interesting. I remember I had like a little short thing, and then I had to go for like a meeting, and it was like, what do I do with it? And so it was just a lot.
People are gonna think that I don't wash because my hair is natural, and they're gonna just have this whole idea.
Whatever the thing is, we didn't even have the language at that point.
Yes.
I will tell you that natural hair wasn't a thing. It was just like hair, afro hair, and then I think nap curly or something started that. And then I remember finding a Facebook group on Facebook group with Wisal and like the OG originals. There was like maybe
you had to find support because you were just like, I'm here now.
Yeah.
What do I do with all of this?
Yeah. So I found that there was these things happening where people were just chattering. And I partnered with an amazing person called Lindiwe, and we built this community of people that were just fascinated and interested in growing their hair. That picture, though, is during the middle of COVID, where that community ultimately morphed into a product that we released called the Wash Day Box, which is our merchandise, if that if I can put it in modern day terms. Yeah, and that was me in COVID packing boxes because people had latched onto this thing called natural hair.
And they were here now, they were at home, they had to wash their own hair.
Well,
and
they also had the language, right? Now we had
Yes.
influencers. I didn't have that. They had YouTube channels. I didn't have that. There was Instagram pages. We had an Instagram page of like at 30,000 at that point. And it was just the community of people that were into the same things, which is effectively what community is. And so that picture, I think I took it or my husband took it because our house looked like it was overtaken by
boxes.
these little white boxes.
And I remember this post because you might not see it actually in the caption of the post, but you had said here, that's what you see in this picture. What you don't see is how a few months later, I would sell over R1 million of these boxes.
Oh, yeah, that happened too.
So we're going to get into that in this podcast, right? That's what we're going to get into. From burning your hair, like your head, your scalp, from relaxing your hair, deciding to chop it all off and just say, I'm going natural. And at the time, we didn't even have that language. To now peak epidemic, like that. Now it's like we're in the pandemic and then you're at the peak of your business at the same time, and now it's a 7-figure business.
Oh yeah, that happened really
all right,
quick.
so let's backtrack a bit. Okay. So
Geez, it's tough to be in this seat.
now you know what it's like being interviewed and having all these questions on you. I want to go back to, who were you before you met e-commerce and before you met online business?
Who was I before I met e-commerce and online business? So I was a builder. I'll always tell this story because I think it's an important part of my identity, but also of my future self. Is that I started. So I'm a very handsy person. I'm a planner. I'm a manager I'm a busy, bossy person. And when I left when I left high school going into university, I was one of those people that initially I wanted to design cars. That was like, Nyaki's going to design cars. You know when people are like, what is Nyaki going to be?
Mechanic.
No, a car designer, an interior car designer.
Wow.
And I was going to work for BMW and it was going to be great and it was amazing. And then I started to realize what goes into design. And there's a certain level of creativity that you need to have that I didn't have.
God just didn't give you that.
Yeah, God didn't give me that drawing. Like there has to, like, you don't have to be like an amazing drawer.
Just drawing the body
but
of
you
the
have
car
to be
and the
able
inside.
to, like, express your thoughts through some sort of canvas. And I didn't get that. And so I realized that, this thing's not going to work. But I still love designing and I wanted to do interior designing. And so my dad was like, no. Interior designing is not a real thing.
Okay.
No, go and do project management. Because that'll open the door, and if you still want to do this interior designing thing, then you can still
go
do it.
deeper from there.
So, and because I'm a very technical person in nature, I am my dad's firstborn son, which I always love saying. I went into construction management.
Wow.
So I did my undergraduate at CPUT as in building. So I have a national diploma in building, and I developed into a construction project manager, and then I did an actual set alone project management degree. But by that time, I was just like, and then I worked for a little while, obviously.
Where did you work?
I worked my first job was my first job when I was doing my InServ was at Rabi Properties, which is the company that basically developed Century City, and that gave me a world view into the development. We were building all the houses there, big, like really expensive houses, beautiful spaces, and I really excelled in that space. Like I mean, if you look around my house, you can see that there's a certain level of detail and eye that I have just in general. So that was like the interior design thing, like, ooh, maybe this could be it. But it always felt very like limited, right? It's just like, okay, whatever.
It was just a touch of it. It wasn't necessarily the full scope that you wanted.
Yeah, it wasn't as exciting or as thrilling as I thought it would be anyway. So, but after my in-service, obviously, So obviously in service, you kind of get a feel of the whole company. So because I work for a property development company, I was in the property development. We went into some rentals. We went into some building construction. And I made some really good relationships while I was in university with my lecturer. And my lecturer's name is Ludwig. He, there was a post at the government, at the Western Cape Government of Health. They were looking for interns, and I emailed him at the end. I bumped into him at some point. We became like good friends, and I bumped into him, and he was like, "Oh wait, there's this. My department is doing this thing. It's a new department. We're not really sure what we're like all about." And that put me in the infrastructure development department at the Western Cape Government Health. So there we were building the framework, but also managing the process between public works and end user as being the hospital for the Department of Health.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were building.
I can't picture you hard hat.
Oh yeah,
In
no,
the
hard
sun,
hat, architect,
like
office,
boots and like mud
all
and
of it.
foundation,
vibrating,
and building.
waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning because you have a cast at 4 o'clock because you can't do it when the sun is up. And
Like even this language, I'm just like,
no, I'm a different person, right? You don't know me. Yeah. So anyway, then I went into the city. So after that, I moved into the city. But in between that, my husband and I bought, so we got married, and then we bought a restaurant. Like we got married in October, and in April, 1st of April, we took the keys for our first business together.
brick and mortar.
I opened up a restaurant. Even that was a weird story. My husband just comes back home one day, and he's like, "Oh, there's my colleague." I can't say his name, but he's like, "Oh, my colleague, he owns that coffee shop that I always go to, and he's selling it, and I think we should buy it."
Wow.
So I was like,
And you did.
"Oh, okay, cool, sure, why not?" We've only been married for like 3 months. We don't really have real jobs at this point. We'll buy a coffee shop in
We
our.
don't know what financial responsibility is.
I
We
didn't
don't
know what a
what-
balance sheet was. So I had my cousin
and stock control and like
No,
overheads
that
and
stuff is simple things, man.
but you did it.
Yeah, I did it. We ended up buying the coffee shop while we were working full time, which was also very interesting. Even that's another 40-minute
Nobody
podcast.
stole money from your till.
Oh no, they absolutely did. It was a very because I come from, my parents run a business, so I'm not naive in the business process or in the business
So there's
world.
certain things you're familiar with.
Yeah. There's many things, and even the experiences when I talk to my parents about them, they're just like, "But you knew this was gonna happen,"
Yes.
and I'm like, "Yeah, I knew. It just cuts differently, you know. It just
When it's yours.
it just feels a bit different." So we bought the coffee shop.
You're working full time in construction. You buy the coffee shop.
Yes.
And you start running this coffee shop.
Yes.
And this is
in tandem with living and being newlyweds.
So then how does the connection happen? Now I'm just like, okay, I'm not seeing this, the golden thread. Construction, you're for government, right?
Yes.
And coffee shop. Where did internet business slide in?
Okay, so internet business slides in at the coffee shop. So while we were having this conversation, was a group of us on the internet. I love the internet. I'm like a big, if you must ask me what's my favorite thing in the world, it's like not the favorite, but like I love the internet because you can find your people. And so I found my little people on the internet, and we started doing meetups at Twigs with Beans.
And that's your business,
At
the name of
the
it.
restaurant.
Wow.
So we would do we called it coffees and conversations, curls, coffees and conversations. I remember we'd invite people, and we would just talk about our experiences with hair.
Yeah.
And that morphed into us doing bigger events. The events just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the last event pre-COVID we had about like 700 people in attendance, which also was just like, why are all these people here? Who do they
So it
know?
just kept on snowballing.
Yeah.
So you had this experience with your hair pre-wedding. A week before your wedding, you cut it off, you go natural. That sends you on the spiral of just looking for other people like you. People who have natural hair, who need to understand, how do I take care of this thing? You start meeting at your coffee shop. That it was just, there's a whole lot of serendipity everywhere. Like it's just sprinkled with it's just like, I'm trying not to see it, but I'm just like,
don't worry.
chance meeting with your lecturer, and then chance you start
literally
everything is just.
Now you look back, and the thing is, like, I'm a faith person, and it's difficult in the moment to look forward, right? Like I can tell you, like, this is hard. It is hard. Everything in this story was really, really like treacherous. But faith says, fear says, what if? Faith says, even if.
Yes.
Right? And so like, even if it was that, like looking back, you're like, yo, yes. Jeez. But yeah, no, very, very sender. Like, yeah, no.
Everything. So
no,
chance meeting with your
alignment,
lecturer, then you start working in government with hospitals and things like that. Then your husband, chance that the restaurant he likes
in the
going
toilet,
to
like they met
sold.
in the bathroom,
Oh my
literally
word.
at a urinal.
And then from the meeting in the urinal.
And it just so
to
happened
then-
that the coffee shop is like 3 kilometers from our
where you
house.
stay.
Not 3 kilometers, like 300 meters.
Oh my word.
It's
And then
like-
you buy into this business, and then there's these meetups for these conversations about curls.
Yeah.
And then from there, it keeps growing and growing and growing online. It's still very physical. How did we get online? You like the internet. You're meeting with these people about your hair.
So all of this conversation is obviously happening on the socials. The meetups and things are being gathered by the socials, right? It's something that's happening. It's a community that's online on the internet. And so we're planning, Lindy and I are planning our biggest event. I remember it was going to be at 20 at Victoria Yards in town. It was going to be, I think they take 1,000 people. So no, they take 10, I don't know. It was a huge number. Like,
Yeah.
like we couldn't have huge. We've got our sponsors in line, and then the government, and then Mr. President says, my fellow South Africans, we are going into a 14-day lockdown. All events are cancelled, effective immediately, indefinitely. Yo, Kosia.
So you never had the event. You planned it.
Event. We had the event. We had to send a lot of money back. People had to cancel things. It was fine because it was a pandemic. Everyone was like, we
Yes.
don't know what's happening.
But there was also a collective apology.
Yes,
It was fine.
Nah, it was fine. Everybody was like, it was definitely not going to happen. And something says in this, what is happening? How are people getting their products? Right? Before we were retailing, but we weren't retailing because I never ever wanted to build a retail business.
Okay.
Because I come from retail.
Yes.
Like I just had, why would I leave Twigs and then come into another business where I have to have staff and I have to have inventory? It wasn't something on my to-do list. It was never something in my, but something happened while we were meeting because I met with the Shea Moisture people.
Yes.
I'm the CEO of Shea Moisture, and when they came down to South Africa, and they had this box, the Shea Moisture box, this beauty
I remember
box.
that.
I still have it.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what?
is so
Every
cool.
South African must get this. Like, why can't we get this? And so I started developing the process during I want to say it was pre-lockdown. I must say it was pre-lockdown. Like this was way before lockdown.
So it was like a little bit of an idea that was like building up when you saw the Shea Moisture box, you're meeting people and you continue having these hair events. So when this Shea Moisture box comes along, it basically planted a seed.
Yeah, that had actually happened the year before because at the event we had given our goodie bags were the boxes. That was almost like the soft launch of the box for people to understand what the box feels like and looks like. So we launched the box there, and the idea behind it was just an accessible way for you to try products, right? Because at the time, I come from like when you walked into Clicks and there was like 3 dusty products on the shelf.
Yes.
But there were new products coming in and quite quickly. And it was like, how are people getting to try this? Our thing was we want to, and it's always been like that, even with the products, with the events, how we sold it to big brands, to the Revlons and to the Niloticas and to the, was let's get your product in hand.
Yes.
If your product is as good as you claim that it is, the only thing that you need is to get this in someone else's hand.
You had access to community, access to people.
Correct. And so so now I have the language for it, obviously, but we were basically doing activations and in-person activation marketing.
What I'm getting is you were just doing what was next. You didn't have the language for it. You didn't really truly understand it. You were just like, let's just do what's next. Okay, people want to meet, shop. People need products. Okay, let's get them into a box and get it to them.
Yes.
You didn't have the language for it. You didn't necessarily know big idea what was going on, but what was next, you just did.
I just kept going with it. And the beauty of it is as I'm going, I'm developing the language and the understanding of what I'm actually doing. It's like, This is activation marketing. This is experiential marketing.
Yes.
Like there's a word and a whole
Yes.
thing about that. And I'm like, how people can do experiences based in marketing?
Yes.
And then my pitch decks and my proposals to brands get stronger and we start getting more money. Now a brand that was like, we'll give you 10,000 Rand is giving us 110,000 Rand. And you're like, it's just because you see the word experience marketing. Yeah. So we started positioning ourselves as an experience marketing company, and that's how we were getting the buy-in from brands. Because ultimately, Unilever doesn't need us to sell products for them.
No,
Unilever can shut down the whole
yes.
clicks and make no one else can go in. They want people to experience their brands.
Yes.
So that's what we started doing. Obviously, then ironically, the other brands, the clicks curl started happening, and I want to say because they saw us doing stuff like that, and the Cape Town
they got the idea, yes,
the viability of the
yes,
thing, right?
Was shown.
Yes. It's to see like, okay, you can create a public event and people will turn up. Cape Town girls are amazing. The Cape Town naturally girls
show up
like fire.
They show up,
and it was a blessing for us to have started in Cape Town. There were other, like the Amandas were doing it already. We obviously just brought in our own thing in collaboration with them, right? And not in competition, which was very important. And bringing that to Joburg was like, it was difficult, but it was easy in that we'd seen
had
it.
already proven the concept that side, and you brought it in this side.
So our first event in Joburg was amazing. I was like, we'll probably have like 50 people. I think we had like 400 people come.
Wow.
It was spectacular. It was beautiful. There were jumping castles. It was outside. I got sick that day. I just lay on my back the whole time. But it was really something special.
Yeah.
But as I'm doing this, I'm building the language and the understanding
and the knowledge.
What I'm doing is marketing.
Yes.
But marketing was never something. No,
you are learning on the job.
No, I'm an engineer, guys. I'm a clever girl. I'm an intelligent.
I do boxes. I do Legos.
Yes.
I do.
And so this soft skill of marketing and sales doesn't like land until people start talking about it. And I'm like, is that what you guys studied? You studied all of this? For 4 years you went and learned this?
And you are learning on the job as and when it needed it. You were learning it. So while this snowball effect was happening of NHCO, Natural Hair Company, right? As a snowball is happening, at what point did you, because you had a full-time job.
Yes.
And you had the restaurant, which you then closed.
We sold.
You sold.
Yeah.
And, at this point, before even NHCO became a thing, you had already had a business that you started, you ran, it was successful, you sold.
Yes.
When did you jump into becoming a full-time digital business, e-commerce, digital marketing extraordinaire?
Okay, so
when did that happen?
We are in Cape Town at the time. We'd been in Cape Town I'd been in Cape Town for about 10 years. So I got married. We met in Cape Town. We got married and we stayed in Cape Town. And I don't want to say the problem with Cape Town is, because that's like a thing, but like Cape Town became very small. As a city, as a community, as a business hub, it just became very small. Like my husband's growth was limited in terms of work. I was enjoying my work, but like, it was just a job, right?
Yeah.
It was a job. And so the decision then to move to Joburg meant that we had to sell our house, sell our business, and then move into then what would be full-time entrepreneurship / working in my parents' business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And was that jump difficult for you?
Things are not difficult. I don't hold on to things very dearly. I will tell you that like the things that I hold on to dearly are relationships and people, which is effectively the same thing. But like things are things, right?
Yeah.
Like a house is a house, a business is a business. And what we were leaving wasn't, we weren't leaving our homes or our business. What we were leaving was our people. We were leaving our community. So like in that sense, it was difficult. It was sad. But Cape Town is 2 hours away. It's not. And also like I've just built an entire community of people on the internet. Like if I can call people on the internet, my internet friends, how much more for my real friends? Like I can have relationships on the internet.
What made you realize that was real? You have this community of people online. You guys are having these events. What made you realize that this is a real thing and it can grow into something?
When people show up.
When people showed up at the events.
When strangers show up on the internet.
Yes.
From the internet. You don't know me. Like, it's easy when it's like people from your church or your friends of friends.
They're real. But when they're on the internet, it's like these fake little...
And
like,
they just come and they know
they're not in your imagination. They're real human beings.
And they appreciate what you've been doing and the stories that come out of it. It's just like the impact that you're able to make. Like, I was like, geesh, okay.
Now, my other question is about people on the internet. They become real when they come to you in person. How did that go to then a merchandise business? Did you have the idea? You said that the box you sowed from sheer moisture and it planted a seed, but you had that apprehension saying, but I don't necessarily want to do physical.
No, I never wanted to become a retail business.
What made you go retail?
COVID. No, pre-COVID. Pre-COVID was we were selling the boxes. It was now because we can't do, or because events, so the thing with events, right, is that they are capital intensive.
Yes.
Right? You need a lot of money and you need a lot of people to make it attractive for brands. And so when brands are cutting their budgets, the first thing they're cutting is the event thing, that they're just going to get a little table and they might get brand exposure. And so it becomes difficult to convince people of that, but it's easier to convince them to say, give me 10,000 units of product and I will get it to the people.
Yes.
And so that was always the position.
And you get into their homes. So from marketing talk, as soon as you get into somebody's house, you have real estate in a person's house.
I didn't know that. If I'd known that, I would have made a lot more money. If I'd
but
said
you
that,
were learning as you were going.
If I'd said that, we wouldn't be here.
If you had known that back then.
Yes. But that's what it was. It was about building that experience and giving people an unboxing experience. That was my thing. It was like, we're seeing influencers online and you brands are partnering with these influencers and you're giving, they're showing us this luxurious like unboxing. That unboxing thing was huge like before. But I wanted everybody to have that experience. I was like, why is it only exclusively if you've got 10,000 Kopano? And so that was the thing. The thing that we were selling then to brands is I would go to them and say, listen, I want to have an unboxing experience with your product. We're putting it in. My only product at this case is a box. Like that's the only real estate.
You have an empty box.
I have a box. Yes. And I'm going to people that I'm saying, give me your product.
Put it inside. And I will, as a way to market to them. So it worked. And obviously the communication is different from brand to brand, right? Big brands can afford to give you stock. Smaller brands can't afford. But it's an investment for them.
But even then, they're investing, but with the ROI for sales, because then they would get some money. So I would effectively buy the products for them, but I'm buying them at bulk, right? Instead of buying 20 products at a time, I'm buying 100 or 500 or 300 SKUs at a time. And so that's where the leverage then was able to be drawn to say, like, listen, we've got this community. They're exactly who you need, right? The beauty of having a very niche, this is actually just a tip, is that the beauty of having a very niche community is that you are able to market that community in its nichety. Right. The problem with being an influencer or like Kopano's Mrs. Mom Boss, and she's also. So brands have a difficult time converting that to be like every single person that's following Kopano is here for this thing.
Exactly.
But every single person that's on Natural Hair Co.
is there for natural hair.
And so any conversation that you're doing is about hair. How you leverage it and how you talk about it is obviously going to be different and masked in certain ways. So that was the easier conversation. Not easy. It's a very tough place to play, but that's how I found myself in retail.
So now COVID strikes. You've had this big event, and eventing has been the big part. Yes, you're selling the boxes, but eventing has been, you're about to plan the biggest event that you guys have ever done.
Yes.
And then shut down.
And then lockdown happens. And I phoned one of the brands and I was like, so listen, I have this thing. I have this idea. Would you go ahead with it? And she was like, okay, let's see how 100 do. I phoned her the very next day after the first box. I was like, so listen, the 100 boxes are gone. She's like, what do you mean? And I was like, no. So what had happened was the people really like these things. Yeah. They're gone. Like gone. Do you have more stock?
And now people want more.
Well, more people want, right? And that's how it went for 10 months during the 14 days of COVID lockdown that we had.
You just kept on rolling out more.
It was
and
just
more.
I think
more.
The brand that I remember quite like succinctly, because it was almost one of the first ones we did in the lockdown, was Nilotica. And I remember partnering with a lot of the influencers at
Yes.
the time. They were micro influencers. Now they're massive now.
Yes.
And we did a huge campaign, and I was at my parents' house, and I had to turn my phone down because the phone was just going ding, 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 ding.
Did you guys have the Shopify thing?
Yes, with the ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. And so I put it down, and my mom is like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, those are the boxes selling." And she's like, "What?" And I was
Can
like,
I please say, I love that Shopify effect. Ka-ching, 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 ka-ching.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 100 gone.
"Yeah,
You're calling, you're like,
calling,
I
keep
need
calling."
more.
Yes.
And then now you're going and you're doing this for how many months did you say?
A while actually. A while we did it. So it was Tando and myself, my 2IC. Couldn't have done it without her. We were sending out a new box every month. And I think the first iteration was I think we went on for 10 months, and then I think we took a break. But we had product every month. We would release a new product every month.
And this R1 Million situation, this achievement, when did that happen?
Oh, that happened within the first 6 months.
Wow.
That happened within the first 6 months of the boxes. We did a really, really huge campaign with Love Kinks, with Sino, which like triggered a huge a new audience, which is also like the real big key with collaboration. That was like within the first 6 months. It was chaotic.
Was that always the plan? Was there a point where you sat down and you had this master plan at any point when Natural Hair Co. was growing? Was there a point where you sat, you knew what you were doing, and you were just like, this is the plan and this is where we're going?
No, never. I will tell you that I've always had a vision for something big. And the vision has always been, so for me, like work and life, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit later, but like work and life must be succinct, right? And the retail for me was always, because my parents have been in retail business for, at this point, 18 years, I knew that my lifestyle, the lifestyle that I wanted to live, didn't attach itself to a retail business, to a traditional brick and mortar. So I knew inherently that like I was not going to be sending boxes for any much longer than I actually did, because it required me to have a location. It required me to receive product. It required me to have
on the job as well.
On the job,
yeah.
Right? And so my move into, the community building and all of the stuff that I was doing with NH Co was actually a move into digital marketing.
Yes.
And when I started getting the language, I started learning, okay, there's this whole other world that exists outside of getting people's product in hand. And I started telling people about it. And that's where that picture comes in. It's like, guys, actually, fun fact, there's a way to do this.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't
There's a
happen
whole
by
process.
luck.
It's not like a chance thing that happened.
Yes. So I got my certificate in digital marketing. I became a strategist, and I just started learning about it. I started media buying as well, which then landed me the American contract that I talk about. That like also it just cemented a piece of information that I had known but didn't have the language for and didn't understand the scale and have the appreciation for the globalness of it. Right. So I mean, we met at one of your events at the Employee to Entrepreneur.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, I want to see, like, does this thing actually exist in South Africa? And the room was filled with 100 women who were building businesses on their laptops. And I was like, okay, this thing does exist. At that point, like the level of training that they were getting was very rudimentary, and I'd already surpassed that. But it was an experience in that all of these people are building businesses and they're using the internet for it, which, 10 years ago or 10 years before wasn't something that you would even consider for us. And so that is also the reason why the club makes sense, right? I suppose you must ask your question now.
Because she's getting excited. So from building NHCO, you then went into coaching.
Yes. I went into coaching. I stumbled into coaching, right? Because I posted that and I gave the training. And after that, I said, well, if anybody wants me to help them in their business, let me know. Yeah, let me know. And then I woke up to a couple of emails and I was like, well, okay, cool. This is how much I'm charging. And people paid. And I started doing monthly coaching, and I also started doing in-person session coaching.
Yes.
And that also then developed into going back to what I knew, which was building community.
Yes.
Right? Let me build this community, or at least find a community of people that are
want
doing
this.
that are
Yes.
doing this thing, where we are now.
So now, as a digital coach, what made you feel like you started off with one mindset, which was professionally, you were in project management, construction, building. Then you gain on-the-job experience in digital marketing. And then you went and got a certificate. Like, how dare you become a coach? Like, how did that even sit in you? You know, that's how people think. It's like, I don't know enough to become a coach, but you had that idea. Where and how did you get that idea?
So looking back now, and knowing what I know about the coaching space and just the industry and the need for it, is that if you know something and you are able to tell people about it, you're a coach.
Yeah.
Right. And people are able to get a transformation or a result from what you are telling them. That is what coaching is.
Yes.
And so I think the complication of of what people make coaching seem is a lot, and there obviously has to be like a level of credibility, which is why it's really important that I became certified, for me especially, right? Because I don't come from marketing. I'm speaking to people who, a lot of them have been in marketing and studied marketing or work, and so for me it was to actually get the language and get the communication and understand what these people are talking about, but be able to say, no guys, I do know what I'm talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about. And how has that been as a career point for you as a coach? What successes have you been able to build as a coach?
What successes have I been able to build as a coach? It's difficult, right? Because the thing with coaching, and the thing that I appreciate about coaching is that it's a journey.
Yes.
Right. It's about being able to build relationships with your clients and with your coaching clients, and being able to take them on a journey. Yes, there have been people who are like, okay, Nyaki, I'm not making any money right now. I want to be able to be making X amount of money at the end of whatever. And those things happen, and they have happened. But I think the biggest thing, and the thing that I appreciate, and just the way that I coach people, is I literally take people from not knowing what they're doing to actually understanding what they're doing. So not knowing to understanding is very different, because you have to take them from not knowing to explaining to them, and then teaching them what it is, and then they understand to a point where they're like, oh, okay, able to spot, okay, this is the thing. Because I believe that's how you scale a business, right? Being able to look at your business from a high level, and helicopter look at your business and understand systematically how things work. Because if you're not able to systematically understand how things work, you're not able to build the systems, and then you're not able to scale at that level.
Yes.
Right? If you are still writing waybills and writing emails to each and every single customer, you can only ever do that for 10 people.
Yes.
As soon as you get to 300 people to 600 people, you are either going to lose the customer experience, or you're going to lose your mind. And it's important for me anyway to maintain the customer experience, because remember, my customer experience was, I want to give people this onboarding experience. And so every single person that gets a box, and every single person that gets coached, and every single person that receives something from me needs to get an experience that is identical throughout the journey.
Yeah.
And so that's the important then of where I sit in the coaching space, is being able to show people at scale the system that you're able to build, so that you're able to build that customer experience. Because I think a lot of the time what we get, especially like people will say, I don't really work with black people, because like, when you give them a lot of money, then things start like falling apart. And I understand that. It's because we're not built to think bigger than what is currently happening.
One to one, we don't know how to create that one to many type of business.
And so I bring in the builder. So we started the saying, like, the reason why I will always say that I'm a builder is because that's what I do. Right? I take whatever you have in your mind, the creation, and put it in such a way. Like, you cannot start building windows before you have a foundation. Like, it's not possible. And even then, in your foundation, there's certain detailing and certain elements that you have to consider. Consider the landscape, consider the type of, like, there's a lot of considerations that you have to take. And so that kind of thinking, that engineering thinking, put in the digital space,
that's what makes you scale. You're like the scaling queen. So if somebody comes and is like, I'm selling on WhatsApp through Instagram, you're able to say, okay, how do we scale this so that you're not just working with 50 people because that's how many messages you can send out, but you're working with thousands of people and each person is getting the same experience.
Yeah.
And you're able to help people build that system so that every single person feels that love from the beginning right until the end.
Yeah. And not saying like take people off WhatsApp, right? This is the thing. It's like people are like, oh no, but I definitely still want to still be on selling on WhatsApp. This is a silly example, but like you can build a scalable business even on WhatsApp. It's not that you have to move people off WhatsApp.
Yes.
You can build your automations.
There's a place for it in a way that you use it.
WhatsApp. Yes, you can. People can sell thousands and thousands and thousands and millions even on WhatsApp. It's just not you sending a message every time a customer walks in, right? Those are the things that we have. You know, we're in the world of AI and ChatGPT. Like you can build these things.
You can still build those things. So you can build a 7-figure business on WhatsApp.
Of course you can.
Build 7-figure businesses through this digital world, and there's different ways of doing that.
Yeah.
So now it brings us to this part, which is really exciting. How can people work with you? There's someone who's listening to this saying, you know what, I've got this small business of mine and I'm doing the best that I can. And I know that this could possibly be my R1 million idea and my R1 million business that helps me to quit my job and live the life that I want. But I don't know how to make that happen. How do I get a hold of Nyaki? How can you help me get there? Do you still do that?
So yes, I still do. The form has changed. The form has changed because going back to what I actually believe in, which is community, I landed somehow, some miracle that the Lord spoke to Kopano and said, let this one into your life. Which was, I'm sure we'll talk about it at a later stage, but like going back to community is how I believe people will grow. How I believe and how I work with people is in community. And so how people can work with me right now is that I am now CEO, head honcho, CMO, COO, all the O's at Club She Is. Which already has been a very interesting journey. Also, looking back, you're like, yo, this is God is good. But obviously, you know, leading up to it was just like, I don't know. I'm very confused as to how I'm going to build this. And so how people can work with me is through the club. The first way, and one of the ways that I'm really excited, we've been mind mapping this for a long time, is we're building a mastermind within the club. The mastermind is exclusive for people within the club. So we're relaunching the club and we're bringing it back, which is going to be a low touch community in terms of working together. But I know that people want a high touch experience. So one-on-one, how do we work together, or at least one to group, how do we work together is through the mastermind. So the mastermind for people in the club is coming at an exclusively ridiculously discounted price. So you kind of have to join the club to get the price. But the details will be below here. But whatever the price is, I can't remember what the price is. It's the one week group coaching session with me going through the framework. I'm excited about the framework because it's something that we've developed in collaboration, where I brought my scale framework, which looking back, I'm realizing was very, very detailed, but also bringing in the original Club She Is framework to kind of build this, Club She Is framework that says, we're going to start with the understanding digital marketing, because I think that is the base of any business, and work your way through ops, through systems, through sales, through marketing, through all the little things that are important about building a business, so that you can build your business, but also so that you can build other businesses, right? I'm big about, yes, we can build your current business, but history will tell you that I had a restaurant, right? I had NHCo, and now we're in Club She Is, but no piece of myself have I left behind, right? I've always brought something forward because I've learned a skill. And so like skills development is something that is like,
so it's about building that understanding and mastering the ability to start a business, scale it, and have that knowledge for you to do it again and again and again. So this program is exclusive to people who are inside the Club She Is community. And once they're inside, it is a 8-week program that basically takes you through understanding your business, what is digital marketing, how do you start your business and scale it, with the knowledge that we have both gathered from our various experiences, from e-commerce, personal branding, business branding, marketing, and selling, the systems that you need, exclusive to the people inside the club at a 60% discount once you're inside the club. So if you want to go through that experience in a group coaching format for 8 weeks with the both of us, join the club and join that mastermind. Go through that program. And you have one extra gift.
Oh yes, because I still have tools left. So we're going to do some wash day boxes. So if you do join, I think I've got about 100, could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less. But the first people in the door to sign up for the mastermind will get a box delivered to their house. What's going to be inside, you're going to have to find out, but it's all the cool things that we love, right?
So if you're a natural hair girly, and even if you're not a natural hair
even if you're not, because it's not going to, so
it's a hair box.
It's a hair box. Yes. It's a toolbox. I like that. But the other thing that I wanted to say is like, you say 60% discount, like it's
way more than
way
that.
more.
Yes,
because my private coaching clients pay me about 8,000 Rand a month to work with me for like 3 or 4 sessions. You're getting 8 sessions at like not even half of that. So like, it's a lot. It's gonna be.
So
but
if you're paying normal price 8 times, like 64,000 Rand. Worth, and you're getting a way discounted price for that.
I'm trying to make bank with this money, but anyway. But the important thing is like I want as many people to join, but obviously we're gonna cap the number at some point, so be quick. But it's important because I think a lot of us started the year with these new year, new me, new year, new resolutions. And what helps and why I love community, I'll speak about community in your relationship, like with church and stuff. And I'll speak about community like in your business, is that it holds you accountable.
Yes.
Like it's really difficult to do this thing alone. Like I don't want to say it's impossible, but like it is hard
to do it alone.
And so in community, you will thrive. So join. Club She Is, find all the details below, and we will see you inside. This is like once-off opportunity. We'll probably do it again, but like much later, maybe next year again. But if you're not ready for the financial commitment, don't come. If you're not ready for the discipline that it's going to take to be a part of this program, please don't come. I don't want people to sign up and then you fall off at the end of 2 weeks. We're going to be very accommodating, and there's going to be like a lot of work that you need to go through it. But the idea is that you will walk into the club not knowing what a sales funnel is, and you will walk out with your own money generating sales funnel. So like, that's my value offer there. It's to say you don't know what this is, but you're going to leave with something that makes you money, but like it's gonna come with a lot of work.
So for the first 100 or so who join, you get that extra gift. Once you join the club, make sure that you join the mastermind at a hectically discounted rate for you to work with the two of us in an 8-week program to show you how you can build that business of yours, market, scale it, and replicate it as many times as you want to. So thank you so much, Nyaki, for the partnership and this podcast that was actually never supposed to happen.
No.
But I'm happy it happened.
Yeah, we'll see.